All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are about to begin with our expedited accusation calendar. Who's the litigation manager today?
Miss Champion.
All right, Ms. Champion, when's our reset date?
It's going to be November 9th.
Okay. All right, folks, I just noticed there was a revision to the C calendar, so I'm getting that printed up. But before we begin, let me just make this announcement. This is the State Expedited Accusation Calendar. This is a list of cases in which individuals were recently arrested and charged with misdemeanor offenses. Those are criminal offenses. And upon being booked at the Fulton County Jail, the cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. At this hearing, I will be addressing each of the cases on a one-on-one basis, at which time I will let the defendant know of the new accusation number, what are the charges that have been brought against the defendant, the next court date, if applicable, and to address bond. If you are a defendant or defendants who have been charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of the attorneys from the Public Defender's Office or from the Conflict Defense list will be representing you. If you give me a moment. Just 1 second. This screen is, you just give me 2 seconds. I just want to get the new printout. All right. I see we have someone in courtroom 2 as well as in courtroom 3. Do we need an interpreter case today? Or do we have interpreter cases today?
I do not think so, Your Honor.
We need an interpreter in courtroom 3, the interpreters for courtroom 3, Your Honor.
Yes.
The interpreter. And Miss Adams, do you have an interpreter case today?
I do. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes, I do. It is for Mr. Pascual Lopez Perez. I believe he's position number 13 on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What is it a Spanish interpreter? Because a request wasn't put in today.
They said the interpreter is in the courtroom.
Okay.
No, the defendant is in courtroom 3. We need an interpreter for the defendant in courtroom 3.
Miss Adams, did you make a request for an interpreter to the litigation manager?
I did. I sent it late though, but I did send it.
All right, Miss Champion, let's try our best to get someone this afternoon. Otherwise, we will have to reset it for an interpreter.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Jordan know.
Okay. All right, in courtroom 2, who do we have?
We have position number 25, Miss Never Wood.
All right. This is State versus Neighbor Wood, case number 23 CR 6742F. Ms. Wood was accused of battery, domestic violence from a October 26, 2023 incident. Ms. Wood, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard, or
yes. First arrest, jail with the recommendation.
All right. Ms. Falk.
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened October 26th at 7585 northbound at University Avenue. Lieutenant Lynch saw a vehicle in the emergency lane as well as the defendant walking alongside the roadway. He spoke to Mr. Warren Beal, who is was previously married to the defendant. Mr. Beal had scratch marks around his mouth, red scratch marks that the officer could observe. He stated he was driving the defendant, his wife, and she became agitated. She got out of the vehicle, began walking along the emergency lane. He told her to come back to the vehicle, and once back in the vehicle, he called 911. The defendant told him to get out of her car and scratched him in the face. As you heard, there is no history here. We have had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Warren Beal. He stated they have been together for 4 years. They have no children. He stated they do not have a DV history and he is not afraid of her. However, there was a MH issue that he did want to have addressed. So we are asking for a signature bond through pretrial services. Go to, and I will put the name of the location in the chat and follow any recommendations of that location. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons unless prescribed. No further violent contact with Matthew Beal. And that is all the state is requesting. And again, I will put the name of the location, the facility in the chat.
All right, if you can put in the chat directed to Ms. Champion. Ms. Kim, any objections to a pretrial bond with a condition that she reports to the location mentioned by Ms. Falk? And Ms. Falk, you can also send the name of that location to Ms. J. Kim.
Will do, Your Honor.
All right, and she'll be also required to report to pretrial. She can return to the marital home as long as she doesn't have any violent contact with Warren Beal.
Sounds good to me, Your Honor. No objection.
Ms. Champion, did you receive the name of the facility?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. With regards to Ms. Wood, the bond's going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Wood, your bond is $3,500, but today you will not have to pay for your bond. You simply have to sign out for it as long as you comply with the conditions of the bond. The first condition is that you are to have no violent contact with Warren Beal. There cannot be any physical or verbal altercations with Mr. Beal. You may live with him in the same home, or you can move out and move somewhere else as long as you update us with your new address within 30 days of being released. Also, while you're released, you will attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with the pretrial services. In addition to that, you are to enroll in the facility that's going to be identified on your bond order. You would need to take a look at your bond order, and you would need to enroll in that facility in order to receive and continue treatment. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you report to pretrial services, you need to show proof that you are enrolled in that facility or and that you are continuing receiving treatment from that facility. You're not to consume any illegal drugs. You're not to possess any weapons or any firearms, and you are not to consume any alcohol. Your next court date will be sent to your current address. I have a Northridge Way in Morrow. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
I said, yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Is there a building number?
No, it's a condominium. It is 6463 Northridge Way.
All right, so we will send you notice for your next court date. Please remember to report to pretrial, comply with the conditions, and hopefully this matter will be resolved in your favor. Thank you.
Your Honor, my apologies. Matthew Beal is here. I'm not sure if he wishes to speak, but I would just ask that if he chooses to speak, he avoid referencing any MH issues.
All right. Is it Warren Beal or Matthew Beal?
We had on our paperwork, we have Warren Beal. My apologies. I'm not sure where I got Matthew from.
All right. Mr. Beal, that is the bond that I've set, and she's going to be released under those conditions. She can return to the marital home, but she cannot have any physical or verbal altercations with you. Do you have any issue with the bond and its conditions?
No, Your Honor. I do have a question. She's been recommended to receive treatment in a facility. Is that correct?
she is required to enroll and admit herself to the facility that will be identified on the bond order. If she does not do so, you can report this to the Victim Advocate Division of the Solicitor's Office, and they will take the appropriate steps.
Okay, has things through the courts, has it been expedited for her to be able to get into the recommended facility?
No.
Or required? No.
She is required to enroll in that facility, and hopefully she's done so before her second report date, which means she has 30 days to enroll.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And Mr. Beal, that is the facility that you were driving her to. That's the one we're requesting.
We were driving to Peach.
And let's not reference the facility. I am just asking that the state's recommendation is that you take her to that location.
Thank you. I understand now. I understand.
All right.
Now.
Thank you. You're free to go. Courtroom 2, may I have the next case?
It's going to be position number 23, Mr. Joe Wallace.
Gerald Wallace is accused of simple battery family violence from an October 2nd, 2022 incident. The accusation number is 23 CR 6744J. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. J. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Six total. Last arrest was 2012, violation of RICO Act. Use of a communication facility in the commission of a felony involving a controlled substance. That was dismissed. He was recommended.
Ms. Falk, any recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened October 3rd, 2022 in Woodruff Park. Ms. Courtney Wallace stated the defendant, who she is married to, pushed her to the ground. She broke a nail. She did report it to Cobb Police Department, where they currently lived, but the Cobb Police Department sent her back to Atlanta to report it to APD. They have been married for 16 years and have 4 children. This is his first offense of any violent nature. We did show at least three prior drug offenses. We are recommending a signature bond through pretrial services, 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact with Courtney Wallace, and stay away from 2808 Brass Way in Austell, Georgia. We would like to at this time sound for Ms. Courtney Wallace.
And that was a signature bond, right?
Yes, through pretrial, Your Honor.
Okay. I see a Courtney's iPhone. I don't know if that's Courtney Wallace. If you are Courtney Wallace, please unmute if you want to add anything to the hearing. Miss Adams, if you could mute your screen, please.
I'm so sorry.
I think Courtney Wallace fell off. Is she still with us on the Zoom?
Hello?
She is, Your Honor. She just needs to turn on her video.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who's speaking, please?
This is Courtney Wallace. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Ms. Wallace, my name is Judge Lal. If you want to say anything with the case regarding Gerald Wallace, you would need to be placed under oath. Are you prepared to be under oath?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, well, I can only see your hand. There we go. All right.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What would you like to tell me?
You said the incident took place in October, correct?
Right. Would you like to have contact with Gerald Wallace?
I can barely hear you. You said what now?
Would you like to have contact with Gerald Wallace?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. And are you comfortable with him being in the same home with you?
He is not a threat to me, Your Honor. A situation that took place of words being taken and whatnot, and a lady said she seen him push me. Your Honor, he did not push me, but we did have words and things like that. So as I was leaving, me and my son, one of the officers, I don't know if he was I'm a security officer or whatnot. During that event, during that time, he approached me or whatnot, and he asked me questions, and I gave him the information. And I told him right then and there that Gerald Wallace, he did not hit me and things like that. So my thing is that I did not even know what he had put in the report.
Thank you.
Yes.
The bond is set at $1,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Wallace, you will, this is still an open active case against you because a warrant had been issued. So please keep in mind that when you report to pretrial, although you won't have to pay for the bond at the present time, you would have to comply with the conditions in order to maintain your signature bond. And your conditions are no violent contact with Courtney Wallace. You may return to the marital home. You're not to possess any weapons and any firearms. If you own any guns or anything like that, they have to be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, and your next court date will be sent to your current address. If we don't have your current address, you will need to update that within 30 days after you are released. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
How much was that? 2,000?
1,000? One.
Thank you.
Next case.
up, position 24, it's Jeremy Wimbley.
This is State versus Jeremy Wimberly, accused of battery, family violence from October 25th, 2023. Mr. Wimberly, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Kim. Any prize?
4 total. Last was 2022 probation for armed robbery out of the cab. On probation for theft by taking. It's 22 SC 183192. 2021 theft by taking, financial transaction, card theft, and fraud. And the 2015 robbery conviction. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, this happened October 25th, starting at around 11:26 p.m. and ending at 1:30 a.m. on the 26th. At 992 Nathan Drive, Southeast in Atlanta, officers spoke with Tamia Taylor. She stated that she and the defendant were arguing about their new daughter, that the defendant threatened to slap her, then shoved her in the chest and grabbed her in a bear hug. Ms. Taylor stated she started fighting back to get the defendant off of her, and the defendant bit her. They fell to the ground, and the defendant eventually got off of her. Ms. Taylor then called her mother, who called 911. Officers did observe that Ms. Taylor had injuries to her right thumb, irritation on her cheek from being bitten, and a scratch to her left knee. They had been together for 3 years, lived together for 2 months, and have a newborn child. When questioned, the defendant admitted while they were arguing, he grabbed her to hug and or restrain her, and that he bit her on the neck and may have bit her on the finger when she was fighting back. Again, we cite to that robbery conviction in 2017 in DeKalb, which was actually pled down from a hijacking a motor vehicle. The 2022 probation violation in DeKalb, as well as the fact that he is currently on probation in that Fulton County case. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Taylor, and she stated that they've been together for 3 years, share a 6-day-old child, and reside at that address that we earlier stated. She stated, although she stated that that she is not afraid of this defendant, she also stated that this was done in an affectionate manner for her to calm down, which makes it very odd because she then called her mother to report a violent incident, which concerned her mother enough to call the police. We are asking for that reason for a $3,000 surety bond, stay away from 992 Nathan Drive, Southeast Atlanta, Family Violence Intervention Program, no further contact with Tamia Taylor, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we're asking for no contact with the 6-day-old minor child unless there's a court order for visitation. We would at this time like to sound for Tamia Taylor.
Tamia Taylor, if you're present on Zoom, you need to unmute and start your video.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Ms. Taylor, did you want to say anything?
Yes, the whole
Please raise
situation.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The whole incident is misinterpreted. When I called my mother, I called her just to, vent to her about what happened and what we were arguing about. It wasn't anything violently, and even when we were arguing, nothing violent happened. Miss Kim, she's right. He was trying to restrain me in an affectionate way. He didn't bite me just to hurt me. It was like a hickey, basically. It's like basically hickeys. There weren't like actual bites. I don't have any major injuries on me. It wasn't a fight. He was literally just trying to restrain me and calm me down because myself, I can say I have an anger issue. And we were arguing about something serious, but it was me not trying to calm myself down. But he's a sweetheart. He wouldn't try to hurt me in any types of those ways. He was literally just trying to calm me down. I'm not afraid of him at all. If anything, I just need him to be here to help me take care of the newborn baby that we just had.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 28 years old, Your Honor, and he's gainfully employed at a restaurant as a lead cook. And he's been doing it for about 1.5 years consistently. And he is ready to provide financially for his new baby. She was born on October 19th. So by now it is 8 days officially. He graduated from high school in 2013. And we would like to request for a signature on bond with no further violent contact, Your Honor. My client and his wife, fiance or soon to be a married, she did not call the cop because she was not afraid of him. It was a misunderstanding, and I think signature on bond would be appropriate. Thanks.
Okay. Bond is set at $3,000, and that's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Wimberly, I'm going to grant you a signature bond, although you do have probation matters to address in a felony case. But if you don't comply with the conditions, then the signature bond will be revoked and you will have to pay for that bond in the future. The first condition is no further contact with Tamia Taylor. You are to stay away from the 992 Nathan Drive in Southeast Atlanta. Once you are released, you can return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. And then you will need to update the court with your new address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. I will allow you to have third-party transfer of your daughter with Ms. Taylor, which means that either her mom or your relative can pick up the child and drop off the child, but you yourself cannot have any personal contact with Tamia Taylor until this matter is resolved. If you own any weapons or any firearms, you got to make sure that you surrender them to the authorities. But given the fact that you've got an armed robbery conviction, you're not allowed by law to own any, right? Your next court date will be sent to your new address that you provide to the court. So make sure that you provide us with a new address since you're not allowed to live at the Nathan Drive location. Thank you.
Thank you. Per judge.
Mm-hmm. Next case.
It's going to be position number 26, Mr. Joseph Younes.
This is State versus Eunice, first name Joseph, 23 CR 6743G, accused of criminal trespass from October 26 this year. Mr. Eunice, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors?
Yes, 18 total. You gave him a signature bond through pretrial last week. That's $5,000. So that's open, of course. You got to open criminal damage to property.
That's good. Thank you.
I'm sorry. So I was last
Mr.
night.
Younes, I will be representing you, so please do not say anything. You have a right to remain silent.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Falk.
Yes, Your Honor. This happened October 27th at 1118 Colquitt Avenue. Douglas Alvarez told the defendant that he was not permitted to be at the residence and told police that he told the defendant that several times, that he was not permitted or welcome on the property. The defendant was found sleeping on the porch of the residence. According to our history, and I'm not getting into his whole history, he has 4 previous cases in this year alone. Currently, his open cases are 23 CP 219306. That's a criminal damage to property in the second degree, where he has a $1,500 surety bond with a stay away from Euclid Avenue. He also has that open case with Your Honor, where Your Honor granted him the $5,000 pretrial services bond. That was from Inman Quarter Apartments. He has 2 closed cases that he's currently on a suspended probation sentence for. That's 23 CR 001952F, which was from Inman Park Condos, and 23 CR 002289F, which was from X3 Sports Gym. We are asking for a $500 surety bond. We did actually refer the defendant to MMHC for possible admission. They should be able to evaluate him on the 2nd of November to make that determination. We are also asking for a stay away from 1118 Colquitt Avenue. No further contact with Douglas Alvarez, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We would just like to sound for Douglas Alvarez in case he is here. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Douglas Alvarez, are you on the Zoom? All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 24 years young, and he was born in New Jersey, and he's been here in Georgia quite a bit. He has associate degree, and yet he has not been able to get any job as of now. So he is qualified for public defender services. And Your Honor, we would like to request for a signature on bond, even though he has quite a bit of history. If Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request to have $1,500 remain set.
Right. Because of this new arrest, unfortunately,
I need to leave because
Mr.
this is a
Yunus,
fake arrest and they illegally arrested me, and I was allowed to stay on the premises where I was. Like I'm supposed to be leaving because this is not legal and it's not true. The officer arrested me illegally.
okay.
Thank you.
The $5,000 signature bond in case number 23 CR 006559G. The signature bond is a privilege and not a entitlement, and that is revoked and amended to a $1,500 surety bond. So we'll have to do the surety bond in that case. The current bond for this particular case involving the same location is going to be a $1,000 surety bond. So his total bond is going to be $2,500. It is a surety bond to stay away from the entire complex identified as Inman Quarter Apartments at 299 North Highland Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. His next court date is going to be November 9th. Is that correct?
I thought he was going to be interviewed.
MMHC.
Next. Oh, are we going to, yeah, it's going to be November. Is that a Tuesday or Thursday? I don't know whether I put it.
It's on a Thursday, Your Honor.
Yeah. So November 9th is a Thursday, and it's going to be at 11 a.m.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, just double checking, the address we had for this incident was 1118 Colquitt Avenue.
Oh, you're right.
And I don't know if that's the same as the Inman Quarter Apartments.
It's not. So he'll have to stay away from the Inman Quarter Apartments. I think I was applying that to the amended bond in the
Understood
case. And the current case will be staying away from 1118 Colquitt Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah. So we are going to put both cases at the 11 a.m. calendar, which is the current one, 236743G, and the prior one, which is 23 CR 6559G. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
Your Honor.
you.
Thank you.
Who's in courtroom 2? I'm sorry, courtroom 2, please unmute.
Position number 6, Ms. Alethea Carr.
This is State versus Aletha Mion Carr, accused of false report of a crime on October 26, 2023. Ms. Carr, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Elizabeth Baker. Miss Abdon, excuse me. I'm sorry, is it Miss Abdon who's counsel?
Thank you.
All right. All right. Mr. Howard, any priors?
Second arrest, 06, possession of marijuana. She was recommended.
No. Ms. Is that Prosecutor Elizabeth Baker? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
All right,
How are
yes.
you, Your Honor?
Fine, thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, ma'am. What's your recommendation for Ms. Carr?
Judge, this stems from an incident where she falsely reported to police that her debit card had been taken in order to avoid having to explain to another individual where her money had gone. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, that she stay away from the location where she claimed she'd been robbed at an ATM, which is 1739 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Northwest. That's in Atlanta. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Right. The bond's going to be set $1,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Your Honor, may I be heard on?
Oh, I was just going to, did you,
Or-
it's just going to be a signature bond. Did you want to add anything else?
Yes, Your Honor, I am requesting that that be through the jail. My client is a home health aide for her mother. Her mom can't take care of herself. She's also getting paid through an agency to be her mom's home health aide. And so she would have issues reporting due to that obligation to her mother.
Was her mother at the ATM machine?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, denied. This is reporting once a month. Once a month. I'm not making her report every week or every day. This is a level 1 reporting.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is an open case against her, and she needs to report to pretrial. Otherwise, I'll change it to a $500 surety bond if she doesn't want to bother with pretrial.
No, Your Honor,
Okay.
this pretrial would work. Thank you.
So this is $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services to stay away from the bank or the ATM machine at 1739 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. No weapons and no illegal drugs. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Could we have, please?
Are we ready for the interpreter and breakout session with the interpreter?
I don't think
Okay.
we're doing that.
Is the interpreter in courtroom 3 or on Zoom?
It's only one side.
The interpreter is in courtroom 3?
No, I have the inmate in courtroom 3, Judge. I'm sorry.
The interpreter is not on at all yet, Judge Law.
All right. As soon as the interpreter is available, and who is counsel for Mr. I'm sorry, was it Mr. Sent? I can't remember what position number that was.
I believe it was
That was-
position number
Miss
13,
Adams.
Your Honor, but it
All
is me.
right. Okay, if you are not addressing a case, then the host will place you in courtroom 3 and the interpreter in a breakout room.
Your
Courtroom
Honor, I am in fact actually on the line with a client that was being transported from Alpharetta. She's there now and I'm almost finished. But if I am placed in the breakout room, I'll just finish that call and then I'll go ahead and talk to him.
All right, you just do what you need to do.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position number 17.
Okay. This is State versus Miari Mims, accused of battery family violence from October 26, 2023. Ms. Mims' case is 23 CR 6731E. Ms. Mims, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
Your Honor, actually, this is conflict case. However, we don't have a conflict attorney today.
All right.
4 cases that are conflict cases.
Ms. Mintz, it appears that the public defender's office has to recuse from representing you. So you would need to get the services of a conflict counsel. I do not have a conflict attorney to appoint you right now, and one isn't on Zoom. Who's our prosecutor? Is it Miss Dunlap?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Dunlap, will this be Riverside if we had reset it tomorrow for conflict counsel? Or may I reset it?
Yes, Ms. Phelps.
Your Honor, let me just check into that. Ms. Dunlap, was this, and can you state the name of the case again, just so I can make sure I have the right one?
This is position 17, Miari Mims. She is recommended for pretrial. So I can either address it today or, but she will need conflict counsel.
Understood, Your Honor.
So I just need to know if the prosecution has any objection to a signature bond for pretrial. Then she'll be required to come down to the clerk's office within 30 days and apply for conflict counsel as a condition to a bond.
Can I represent myself?
Ms. Mintz, if you choose to waive your right to counsel, then you are responsible for all legal decisions that you make, and you are responsible for understanding the law, the criminal procedures, and how that may impact upon important decisions like the amount of bond to be set, the conditions upon your release, and so forth. Are you prepared, or even the impact it may have on any open cases you have? So are you prepared to waive your right to counsel and represent yourself?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Mintz is going to be representing herself. So Mr. Howard, any priors?
Yeah. 3rd arrest, last was 2021 ag assault, dismissed. 2019 trespass, family violence, simple battery, family violence, dismissed. And she was recommended.
All right. Ms. Dunlap?
Your Honor. So officers responded to domestic violence call at location 490 Glen Street. They spoke with the victim, looks like it's a George Roan. Apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. He stated that his child's mother, who was the defendant, hit him in the face while driving a car. He then reacted and hit her back. Mr. Roan stated that the defendant then called her 2 brothers, looks like Jaquise and Corey Lewis, to the scene to assault him using hands and feet. Defendants stated that Mr. Rhodes threw a cup at her and punched her in the face as he was driving to the scene. The victim, Mr. Roan, had several scratches and knots to his forehead, as well as scratches on his elbows, his knees, and his back. The state is looking for a $5,000 surety bond with a stay away from 490 Glen Street Southwest. That's apartment 123. And it looks like 600 McDaniel Street Southwest. No further violent contact with the victim, George Roan, a family violence intervention program, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol.
No violent contact?
Yeah, I have no further violent contact.
Your Honor, that's going to be no further contact.
Sorry, no further contact.
All right. Ms. Mintz, they are recommending a $5,000 surety bond, which means you pay for that bond. You can pay either a percentage of it through a bonding company, or you pay for it all, and that you have no further contact with George Ervinto Roan. Do you have a response?
Can I have a signature bond?
On what grounds?
I mean, I just want a signature bond.
Well, just because you want it. I wish everybody gets it just because they want it. But unfortunately, if you choose to represent yourself, you need to give me.
But I mean, I have a 7-month-old child that I take care of by myself. If I can't have further contact with him, because he was helping me with my child. If that's the case, my child is all I have now.
Sorry, Your Honor. And we just wanted to sound for the victim, Mr. Roan, when appropriate.
All right. George Roan, R-H-O-N-E. If you're present on the Zoom, please start your video and unmute. All right. So Ms. Mims wants a signature bond because she's got a 7-month-old child. Any other reasons, Ms. Mims?
And I would recommend it.
All right. And you understand that if I set a bond, I may require that you have no contact with George Rohn and that you are to stay away from him, and that any exchange of the child, is that his child?
Yes,
Okay, that any exchange of the child must be handled by a third party who is not related to you.
that's fine.
All right. Your bond is going to be set at 3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You can sign up for your bond, but you must comply with the following conditions. First, make a note, Ms. Champion, that she has waived her right to counsel and that she chooses to represent herself in this case. Second of all, that she's to have no further contact with George Arvinto Rohn, R-H-O-N-E. She's to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. And Ms. Mims, when I say no contact with George, I mean that no one can even contact him on your behalf. And that would include Jacques Louis and Corey Lewis as well. So if any of them contact him on your behalf, you would be violating the bond order and you will be arrested and your signature bond will be revoked. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're out on a signature bond, you will attend and complete a domestic violence intervention program.
I don't remember.
You must enroll in such a program within 60 days of being released. You will report to pretrial the day that you enroll in that program, and you must continue to take those classes at your expense until it's completed. I'm going to allow for a third-party transfer of the child that you share with George Rohn, but that third party cannot be anyone who is related to you. So it can be someone, a friend of George, or a mutual friend between you and George, but it cannot be anyone who's related to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. You're to surrender any such weapons that you may have to the authorities. Your next court date will be set to your current address. Within 30 days of being released, you must confirm with the clerk of court your current mailing address.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the state just wants to put on record, we object to the signature bond. She has 2 previous domestic violence cases, and this is also not a Riverside issue.
Noted. Thank you. All right.
This is going to be position number 22, Mr. Stallings.
This is Broderick Stallings, 23 CR 6739J, accused of 2 counts of theft by shoplifting from September 15th, 2023. Mr. Stallings, you have a right to remain silent as advised, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
24 total. Last arrest was in February for suspended license. On probation, possession of heroin with intent. And he got probation violations from 2016, 12, and 11. I stopped at 11. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Dunlap, what's the recommendation for Mr. Stallings?
So the officers were called to a shoplifting call from the 15th of September and the 19th, where they reviewed video of the defendant taking, it looks like, wine and beer from, it looks like, the Stadium store located at 834 Hank Aaron Drive. He grabbed 2 bottles of wine and walked out the door. He then came back 4 days later, grabbed 2 cases of beer and proceeded out the door. Defendant's a familiar face within this neighborhood, has been in the store several times. He was identified by the store clerk and an unknown witness who frequents the area. The state is looking for a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with the victim, which is a store owner, Curran Chalanki. Apologize if I'm pronouncing that. We can sound for the victim when appropriate. A stay away from the Stadium store located at 834 Hank Aaron Drive, an anti-theft course, and no drugs, guns, or alcohol or weapons.
All right. All right. Curran Chalanki. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 50 years old and he is sole caretaker for his mother, his wife, who has a stroke and currently she is at Northside Hospital and she is disabled. So he is going through a very hard time, especially financially, even though he works as a dishwasher at Schmick and McCormick restaurant. His income is not high enough to take care of both of them. And also,
I think it was a signature bond through pretrial. So
can it be through jail, Your Honor?
I see. No.
Thank you.
He's got 24 arrest cycles, so it won't be through the jail. On each count is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. So, Mr. Stallings, you can sign up for your bond today, and you have to comply with the conditions of the bond. If you do not comply with the conditions of the bond, your signature bond will be converted to a cash bond or a surety bond, and you'll be back in jail. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You are to report to pretrial once a month. You are to stay 500 yards. Well, I don't know whether that's possible, but I'll make it 200 yards. You have to stay 200 yards away. That's the length of 2 football fields from the store identified as the stadium store at 834 Hank Aaron Drive. If you are anywhere within 200 yards of that particular store, you will be arrested for criminal trespass, and that can jeopardize your signature bond. You're to have no contact with Kiran, that's K-I-R-N, Shelkani, C-H-E-L-K-A-N-I. And you are not to consume any alcohol. You're no alcohol consumption. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, and you're not to possess any weapons and any firearms. If you do not report to pretrial once a month, if you do not come to court when summoned, or if you get arrested again for anything else, your signature bond will be converted to a surety bond. Thank you. Your next court date will be sent to your current address, which
this per judge.
Yes, and his current address is presently at Griffin Street. Is that the correct address, Ms. Kim?
No. My current address, 16 Venara Avenue.
16?
Yes, apartment 3.
Speak, I can't understand.
16 Venara Avenue, apartment 3. But that's V-A-N-I-R-A. Southeast alone.
All right, Mr. Stallings, after you're released, you have 14 days to come down to the clerk's office and submit this written address in writing. You must also provide an email and a phone number.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have position number 11, Ms. Marilyn Gibson.
Marilyn Gibson is accused of battery, criminal trespass, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. The alleged incident date is October 26, 2023, and the accusation number is 23CR6740Y. Ms. Gibson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Adams. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
I got 4 adult arrests. Last was June for trespass. On probation for trespass out of Gwinnett. 2019 battery DV conviction. That's it.
And the trespass was from Gwinnett this year?
Yes, Your Honor. The sentence was July of 2023.
All right. And Ms. Falk, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly, this incident happened at Spirit Halloween on Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell. Susan Reinhart, who is the victim and the store manager, was in an altercation with the defendant. The officer saw blood on her neck, a small laceration to her neck, bruising on her left arm, and a broken trash can. They also spoke to Molly Ball, who showed the officers a video of the defendant striking Miss Reinhart. Miss Reinhart stated the defendant entered demanding her mail, and Miss Reinhart told her they didn't have her mail. The defendant then began threatening her, saying she would F her up. Miss Reinhardt tried to escort the defendant out. Defendant refused, began striking Miss Reinhardt multiple times, which caused Miss Reinhardt to then put her in a headlock, take her outside of the store. Robert Hughes and Riley Williams, who were employees there, said they observed the defendant strike Miss Reinhardt until she was removed from the store. The officer did speak to Miss Gibbs, the defendant, who stated she was not involved in this, even though the video showed she was, and began pulling away from the officers. After her arrest in Miranda, she stated she knew Black people work at Spirit Halloween and Black people stole her mail, so she went there to get her mail. We do have some concerns based on the report. We are recommending a $4,000 surety bond, $2,000 on the battery, $1,000 on the criminal trespass, $1,000 on the obstruction. We are referring her to MMHC for them to speak with her by November 2nd. We are also asking for a stay away from Spirit Halloween at 608-260 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell. No further contact with Susan Reinhardt, Robert Hughes, and Riley Williams, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons unless prescribed.
Why the other two other than Miss Reinhardt?
They are all employees of the store and witnesses. So I just want her to stay away from everybody who is involved.
All right. Miss Adams?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Miss Reinhardt is a 22-year-old woman. She is indigent. She does not work. There was a time where she would go out with her mom and they would clean up around the community. She's a good person. And, you know, she has a 12th grade education, Your Honor. She did try to get her mail from the Spirit Halloween. It's unclear as to how her mail arrived there, but Judge, we are asking that she receive a signature bond in this case, even if it is through pretrial services. Thank you.
Bond is set at $1,000 on battery, $1,000 on the trespass, and $500 on the obstruction. Total bond is $2,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is November 9th. Stay away from the store at 608-260 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell, and no contact with Susan Reinhardt. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. November 9th, shall I set it for the 9 a.m. or the 11 a.m. calendar?
Do I get a signature bond?
No. Miss Adams?
Nothing further, Your Honor. I was just trying to inform her it's probably best to not speak right now.
Okay. No, I'm asking you, Miss Adams, should I put it on the competency calendar at 11 o'clock or the regular calendar at 9?
Your Honor, if you don't mind, can I please have our social worker come to speak with her and we can put her on the regular calendar for now?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When's my next court date?
I'm sorry, was there a question?
When's my court date?
Your next court date is November 9th at 9 a.m.
Okay, come on.
Your Honor, this is going to be position number 15, Mr. Lyons.
Any peep yet from the interpreter? No? Okay. This is Yoram Navon Lyons, accused of criminal trespass and damage to property and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Case 23 CR 6753C from October 25th, 2023. Mr. Lyons, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Adams. Any priors, Mr. Tucson? Mr. Howard?
4 total. Last arrest was in May for reckless stunt driving, suspended license, and failure to appear. 2022 obstruction, 2020 sale of marijuana conviction. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Baker?
Thank you, Judge. This incident stems from ongoing violent contact with the victim in this case, Ashley Cameron, Cameron. The incident location is 8601 Roberts Avenue, apartment 116, That's in Sandy Springs. The defendant currently has a open hold for battery, obstruction, terrorist threats, and similar charges involving the same victim. Those are obviously felony charges. When that incident occurred, he was transported to the hospital for treatment. He got out of the hospital, returned to the residence, apparently before a TPO could be served on him, and used a fire extinguisher to break into the home through a window. The victim obviously called the police. When the police arrived, he ran away from them and refused to cooperate. So he's charged with criminal damage to property for the window and obstructing the officers. He currently has a $5,000 bond. The state's asking that be a surety bond, $4,000 on the criminal trespass and $1,000 on the obstruction charge. No further contact with Ashley Cameron. I would ask that the court sound for her. Also that he stay away from the incident location that I've just described. Thank you.
Ashley Cameron, are you on the Zoom? No, Miss Adams?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lyons is a high school graduate. He's originally from California, but he has been back and forth between here and Georgia for the past few years, but has been firmly planted here for about the past month. He has a 1-year-old daughter that's actually here in Georgia. He's an active father, does have a driver's license. He does have a vehicle. I'm sorry, he does not have a vehicle, but he does have his driver's license. He returned to the home in order to retrieve some items. And so, Your Honor, he doesn't need to go back. He will be trying to find a different place to go. However, he is requesting a one-time escort to return to the home so he can get some of his belongings because he did live there. He is also gainfully employed, Your Honor. He does not make very much money, so a high bond would almost be like having no bond. And so we're requesting a signature bond, Your Honor, and also the one-time police escort.
So that was 222950. And he had $11,000 good bond on October 27th, 2023. And it says no contact with Ashley Cameron. I don't see where he was permitted to return to the location. Did you have a different bond order, Ms. Adams?
I do not, Your Honor. I think it was his misunderstanding about returning to the property to gain his belongings. And that's why I did speak with him about that, Your Honor. And so that's the reason why we're requesting if he is allowed to go back, it would be to gather his belongings with a police escort.
On the criminal trespass causing damage to property, that's going to be a $4,000 surety bond. On the willful obstruction, that's a $1,000 surety bond. It's a total of a $5,000 surety bond. His next court date with state court is going to be November 9th at 9 a.m. Excuse me. No further contact. That's already in the prior order. So again, in this one, it's no contact with Ashley
Cameron,
excuse me. And he is to stay 500 yards away from the entire complex at 8601 Roberts Avenue in Sandy Springs, not just the apartment in question, but the entire complex. He cannot go into the leasing office, any of the amenities, nothing. He's to completely stay away from there. If he bonds out, he's not allowed back at the property. Absolutely not. No one-time visit, no escort visit, nothing. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, Your Honor, this is going to be position number 20, Mr. Robbins, Markel Robbins.
This is Markel Xavier Robbins, 23 CR 6749F. The charges are battery in the first degree and battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree. And this is from an October 25th, 2023 incident. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
This is first adult arrest.
All right, thank you.
17 years old, even need a cosign.
All right. And Ms. Dunlap?
Yes, Your Honor. So it looks like on the 25th of October, the defendant punched the mother of his child, Quintasia Kalecki, apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, multiple times in front of their 1-month-old son, Markel Robbins Jr. This was at the MARTA Oakland station. We could sound for the victim when appropriate. The state is recommending a $4,000 surety bond. That's $3,000 on the family violence battery, $1,000 on the cruelty to children in third degree. No further contact with Quintasia Kalecki, no further contact with the Markel Robbins Jr., looks like that's the son. A stay away from MARTA Oakland station, no guns, drugs, or alcohol, an anger management course, and family violence intervention program.
Thank you. Okay, and I see there is a Miss Cleckley on the Zoom. Miss Cleckley, my name is Judge Lal. If you want to say something, you would have to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, you're free to remain silent. Yes, Miss Cleckley, if you can put your child down somewhere so we can address you separately, please. All right, would you like to say something or?
Yes.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you other right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
All right, what would you like to say?
He didn't punch me in the face at all. He was restraining me from hitting him, actually. It was the other way around. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, and all right, I got you. You can mute your screen, please. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. We do have his mother, Angel Robbins, Jasmine Robbins, who is mother, and Angel Robbins is his aunt. They're both willing to co-sign him, Your Honor. So we would like to request for signature on bond. This is his first arrest as an adult, and he works really, really hard at airport. There's a Jersey mark, and he's working as a dishwasher. He studied up to 11th grade, but because of a child that just came to the earth, he basically finished up with a GED, and this May 2023. He's very young. I would like to request for signature on bond.
All right. And I see there's a Jasmine Robbins on Zoom. Is that Miss Robbins? Is that your son? If you'd like to start the video.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Miss Robbins, I can grant him a signature bond, but he'll need to comply with the conditions, and you would need to co-sign the bond. Would you be available to co-sign the bond?
Yes, ma'am.
And if he violates the conditions, then he runs the risk of losing the signature bond and remaining in jail. Are you still willing to proceed with the co-signing?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And actually, I was told that I would have to need a utility bill.
No, you don't need one.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but you need to bring a government issued ID identifying yourself, like a driver's license or an identification card or a passport.
Okay, thank you. I will.
Okay. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial with parental cosigner by Jasmine Robbins. And on the cruelty is going to be 1,500. The total bond is going to be 5,000. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. And Mr. Robbins, you would need to make sure you maintain your signature bond by complying with the conditions of the bond. If you violate the conditions of the bond, then when you're brought back to jail, make sure you bring $5,000 with you.
Yes, ma'am.
You are to have no further contact with Quintacia Cleckley. If you want to have visitation or joint custody with your child that you share with Ms. Cleckley, you will file a legitimation action in the Superior Court to obtain a court order on the visitation and the custody of your child.
Yes, ma'am.
You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and no alcohol. You're also to stay away from the Oakland MARTA station, which means that if you are traveling on MARTA trains or a MARTA bus, you cannot begin or end. I mean, you cannot be at the MARTA Oakland station. You cannot embark or disembark. You can get off at another station. You can get on from another station, but you cannot get on or get off at Oakland MARTA station. All right. Now, I don't know if MARTA has got a suspension against you at the present time, but if they have a suspension against you at the present time, then you cannot go to any MARTA station. And keep that in mind too. Otherwise, you risk the chance of getting arrested for trespass and losing your signature bond. All right. Thank you. Your next court date will be sent to us. What's your current address?
2637 Old Haydenville Road.
Do you share that with Miss Cleckley?
No, ma'am.
All right. If that's where you live and she doesn't live there, then that's a good address. Thank you.
I put the
Thank you.
address in the chat where the mother can go co-sign it.
Do you have it?
I put it in the chat. I chatted it to the mother.
Okay, Miss Robbins. I
She
don't
need
know.
to be there by 11, by 10 o'clock. By 10 o'clock.
Miss Jasmine Robbins, are you familiar with the chat feature?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you look at the chat, there is an address where you report to co-sign the bond, and you would need to be there by 10 p.m. today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
Yeah, this is going to be position 19, Mr. Moss.
Okay. I haven't heard a peep yet about an interpreter, so Miss Adams, we're still holding tight. Okay, this is position 19, Nashawn Moss, 23 CR 6737D, accused of battery, family violence from March 17th, 2023. Mr. Moss, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Miss Abdon. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
32 total. 2021 probation, failure to appear. You got an open suspended license, giving false name. 2021 battery, cruelty in the first, that was DWAP. And a 2019 simple battery dismissed. I stopped there.
All right. Any prior battery or violent convictions?
Not that I'm aware of. I stopped at the 2019.
Okay. Ms. Dunlap?
Your Honor. So officers responded to a call about domestic violence at location 779 Tiff Avenue Southwest and 600 Hugh Street. They met with the victim, Mrs. Shamika Nicholson, who stated her and the defendant had been arguing about their relationship all day. The defendant was driving Ms. Nicholson's car on Tilt Avenue and told Ms. Nicholson if she got out the car, he would drag her. Ms. Nicholson stated after that she tried to leave when the car slowed down and the defendant struck her with a closed fist and slapped her before she was able to get away. Ms. Nicholson sustained scratch marks on the top left shoulder and injuries to the right side of her face. The state is looking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Shamika Nicholson, a stay away from 779 Tiff Avenue, anger management course, family violence intervention program, and no guns, drugs, alcohols, or weapons, and we can sound for the victim when appropriate.
I think it was Shaniqua Nicholson. Would that be correct?
Shamika Nicholson.
Miss Nicholson, if you're on the Zoom. All right, Miss Abdon.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe this might be a Riverside issue. He was in the Clayton County Jail since October 13th. He wasn't being held there for anything relating to Clayton County. He was just picked up on these warrants when he came into contact with police. And he was just booked into our jail on the 26th. So he's been in jail for almost 2 weeks now, Your Honor.
So he was picked up at Clayton County Jail for what purpose?
So he was walking, he encountered law enforcement where they told him that he may have been jaywalking. They asked for identification. He was given a ticket, nothing that would keep him in jail, Your Honor. They actually arrested him on these warrants that he was unaware that he had. This one warrant, I apologize.
Okay. And let me just see. I have an open felony case. Is that? Mr. Howard, are you familiar with that, or has that been closed out?
What's the
I have a booking number 2109308.
let me check. I did see a 2017 simple battery friendly violence. Hold on.
This is Nashawn Moss.
Yes.
Case was dismissed this morning for non-prosecution.
And felony?
Yes.
Let me go ask my coworker. Hold on.
And that was the probation violation, Your Honor, that he went to court this morning and it was dismissed according to.
Okay. Understood. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Dunlap, do you have any comment on the Riverside issue?
No, Your Honor. I was referring to Ms. Folk. She hasn't said anything.
All right. Bond is going to be.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
My apologies. I did not realize we were referring to me. Okay, so the state's issue with this is if the defendant also had an FTA warrant, it's unclear which of these things was holding him in the Clayton County Jail before he was brought over here and then booked on our warrant. So I would object to this being a Riverside issue because he was booked in on our warrant on October 27th, being that he had an existing FTA warrant. I can't make heads or tails without some documentation from Clayton County, which I'm sorry, if it was Clayton County, I may be misspeaking. It may have been.
It is.
If we, without documentation from Clayton County, I can't say whether he was being held on this warrant or being held on his FTA for his other crimes. So at this point, we would object to a Riverside issue.
Noted. Yes.
Sorry, and Your Honor, it's my understanding the FTA is in Fulton. That is just my understanding.
All right. Bond is set at $20,000. It's a signature bond through the jail. Mr. Moss, at the present time, you have a $20,000 signature bond through the jail on this Riverside matter. Now, please understand that if you get arrested again for anything else, or if you, well, that's basically it. If you don't show up to court when summoned for this new case against you, this $20,000 signature bond through the jail can be amended to a surety bond or a cash bond. So do not give us a reason to switch this bond to a surety or a cash bond. But that's all on you. All right?
Okay, thank you.
So the case this morning was a bench warrant. It got dismissed.
Okay.
According to Odyssey.
Your Honor, that concludes my business. Ms. Baker and Ms. Dunlap are going to finish out the remainder of their cases. May I be excused?
Yes, and you made it just on time. So
thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, who do we have next?
Your Honor, this is going to be position number 9. He's actually a conflict attorney.
And this is David Dove. Pre-trial, is there a recommendation?
Let's see.
This is David Dove accused of criminal trespass.
Well, let me give you the history.
Okay.
20 total. 2022.
Okay.
Was the last for shoplifting. That appears to be open. 2022 theft by taking. 2020 probation. 2017 theft by receiving conviction. 2016 battery no load.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Dove, you've already been advised of your right to remain silent, and you do have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Unfortunately, the Public Defender's Office has recused itself from representing you, so you would need a conflict defense counsel whom I would have to appoint, but the conflict defense attorney is not available today. So I can reset this case for tomorrow at 2 o'clock for a conflict defense attorney to appear, or I can move forward on just addressing the issue of your bond. What would you like to do?
I'll just move forward.
All right. You've been accused of criminal trespass from October 26, 2023. Mr. Howard has already indicated your criminal history record. And so, Ms. Baker, what's the state's recommendation?
Thank you, Judge. This is a companion case with also position number 5. The owner of the matter.
Can I reset it? I meant reset it. I didn't mean move on.
What did you mean then?
I meant reset it, ma'am. I apologize.
So this is a reset to tomorrow for a conflict defense. Yes. He was booked into the jail. He's been in custody now for 2 days. If I decide to reset it, you would need to waive any challenge to what we call a riverside. In other words, that the first appearance would be addressed more than 24 hours later. But we have a warrant, so it's 72 hours. So we have 1 more day. Okay. So it will not be a riverside issue. In other words, you will not get a signature bond simply because you've been in jail for 3 days.
That's fine.
All right.
Judge,
yes,
Judge, if I may. Thank you. Just briefly, again, this is a companion case to position number 5. The state's recommendation was a signature bond through the jail, with condition being that he not return to 3520 Cascade Road. He apparently is experiencing issues with having no fixed address. The concern of the business manager at that location was that they started a fire in the fireplace to stay warm, but there was a can of gas inside the business. So they should stay away from that location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Give me the location again.
Yes, ma'am. 3520 Cascade Road, Atlanta. That's Cascade driving range. Stay away, please.
All right, Mr. Dove, I can reset the case for tomorrow, or you can be released within 24 hours on a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. You don't have to pay for the bond, but you'll need to come back to court when summoned.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sure.
And
signature bond.
Your bond is $5,000. It's a signature bond through the jail. The condition to your bond is that you need to stay 200 yards away from the Cascade driving range. You cannot be anywhere near that location. And that address is 3520 Cascade Road in Atlanta, Georgia. If you return to that location, you will be arrested for trespass. So you'll be brought back to jail on a new charge, and you lose the signature bond. Any questions?
That means I'll be getting released today?
You'll be released today, but you still have an open, active case against you for trespass. You would need to make sure you provide us with a mailing address where we can send you your summons to come back to court.
All right. Your Honor, he has a hold on him.
Oh, he does? I didn't see that. From whom? Mr. Howard, does he have a hold?
Oh, I don't know. Let me look.
That's what it says in Odyssey.
Does it say what county? I'll check it out. Who is this?
It doesn't say the county though, Howard.
All right, hold on, let me see.
He's got a South Fulton hold. All right, well, he's got a signature bond through the jail, so if South Fulton comes and picks him up, then they will address with him. So unfortunately, Mr. Dove, then we'll have to wait for South Fulton to pick you up if they do so.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Well, gee, I didn't see that whole, okay. And Ms. Champion, can we make a note that conflict defense has to be appointed to represent him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
This is gonna be position number 14, Mr. Lowe.
All right, this is Devontae Lowe, Lowe, case number 23CR6738C, accused of simple battery domestic violence from June 18th of last year, 2022. Mr. Lowe, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Adams. Okay, Ms. Adams, we're just going to wait till the end of the calendar to see if an interpreter appears, okay? All right, but meanwhile, on this case, Mr. Howard, any priors?
Fourth adult arrest. Last was on the 24th of this month for theft by receiving suspended license. That was out of Brookhaven. That's open. 2022 probation, 2022 suspended license, no longer. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Baker?
Thank you, Judge. This offense occurred in June 18th of 2022. The incident location is where the victim pulled her car over to speak with the defendant, so it's not particularly relevant to the court's order today. Officers responded to a domestic dispute that occurred at that location. The victim had been visiting a friend at a different location. The defendant's the father of 2 of her children. He arrived at that location, wanted to speak with her, followed her to the location where the incident occurred. After he demanded her telephone and she refused to give it to him. He punched her in the face, but there were no visible injuries. Then he got out of his vehicle, or her vehicle, excuse me, and used a liquor bottle to destroy the passenger's window and the front and rear windshield of her car. Restitution has been paid. The vehicle's been repaired. The state's asking for no further contact with Cynesha, Cynesha Flowers, and a signature bond through pretrial services. Thank you. No guns, drugs, or alcohol.
Okay, Ms. Cynesha Flowers, you're on the Zoom. If you wanted to address the court, you would need to unmute and start your video.
Hi.
Oh, you're upside down. You're literally upside down on the Zoom. All right. As soon as you figure it out, and then Deputy in courtroom 2, the next few cases will have to be Miss Kim's cases or the remainder of the conflict cases, because I'm going to put Miss Chauncey in a breakout with Miss Adams and courtroom 3. All right. But meanwhile, Miss Flowers, do you want to start that video again?
Yes, I was just trying to see if I could. Am I still upside down?
That's fine. That's fine. At least your hair is not falling, so we know you at least.
I can turn my computer. Is this better?
That's better. Good.
It's kind of weird.
All right. All right, Ms. Flowers, if you'd like to address the court, I'll need to place you under oath.
Okay.
Raise your right hand.
Ugh.
Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have anything to add with respect to this encounter with Mr. Lowe?
Yeah. A lot changed in a year. I don't believe that no contact is best. We have 2 kids. We see each other every week. We go through like the whole parenting, co-parenting thing. We're cool, we're cordial. I don't think no contact is the best for us. He picks our kids up from school, drops them off. So.
All right, thank you. Miss Adams, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Lowe is gainfully employed. He's been working at his place of employment for the past 7 years. He's a very active father. He's actually the father of 5 children. He has a high school diploma. He also has attended some college and even had the opportunity to go overseas and play basketball for about a year. He is born and raised right here in Georgia, so he has significant ties to the community. And again, just as the complainant witness has stated, you know, he is an active father. And so, Your Honor, we are requesting a signature bond in this case, in addition to the fact that we are asking for no violent contact so that he may be able to continue to see his children.
Bond is set is 2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He needs to attend and complete the one-day anger awareness program with pretrial. No further violent contact with Sanisha Flowers. No alcohol, no drugs, and no weapons. Next court date will be sent to his current address. He needs to make sure we have his current mailing address within 30 days from being released. Thank you.
Thank you.
Per judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're going to place courtroom 3, Ms. Chauncey, our interpreter, and Ms. Samantha Adams in a breakout room. Ms. Chauncey, the client's name, I believe, is it's position 13. It's Pascual Lopez Perez. Lopez Perez is hyphenated. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Position number 1, Mr. Johnson Bates.
This is State versus Jonta Bates, accused of theft by shoplifting and tampering with evidence from October 26, 2023. The accusation number is 23 CR 6751G. Mr. Bates, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abden. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
9th adult arrest, 2022 trespass, 2021 battery DV dismissed, 2021 shoplifting. Recommend.
Ms. Dunlap?
So officers responded to a shoplifting call at 336 Joseph E. Lowery Boulevard. It's a Chevron gas station. The officers spoke with the store clerk. It looks like his name is Sam Ball, and he's not going to be on Zoom today due to work. They said that the defendant walked in the store and took a soda without paying. Officers observed the surveillance footage of the incident. Defendant matched the surveillance footage. He was placed in custody and transported to the precinct. When he was in the patrol car, he urinated in the vehicle and kicked the side window of the patrol car. Once he was at the precinct, he swept his hands across the table and knocked evidence from another case all over the floor, breaking a glass with marijuana evidence in it. And then after that, he purposely swept his hands across the table again, knocking evidence onto the floor, and additionally breaking a small scale. The state is recommending a mental health referral to MMHC. A bond amount of $1,000 surety. Conditions: stay away from the Chevron located at 336 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. No further contact with the victim, Sam Ball. No drugs, alcohols, or weapons. An anti-theft course.
All right. Ms. Abda?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client's 29 years old. He's been in Georgia his whole life. He does have strong ties to the community. He does live with his parents, Your Honor. They are elderly. He takes care of them. They have health issues. He's their primary caretaker and breadwinner, and they will likely lose their home if he loses his job. And so I'm requesting that you take that into consideration when setting bond today. I have connected him with one of our social workers for MH, and we would not object to the mental MH court referral. I am requesting a signature bond, Your Honor, given his obligation to his parents, and that he's not a flight risk at this time, and understands the obligation to return to court.
Where does he work?
He is currently working. Oh, I apologize, Your Honor. He receives SSI.
And is Neal Street his current address?
Yes.
Okay. On the theft by shoplifting, it's going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. On the tampering with evidence, that's going to be a $500 surety bond. That's a $1,000 split bond. His next court date is November 9th. If he does make bond, he's to stay away from the Chevron gas station at 336 Joseph E. Lowery Boulevard. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
And Your Honor, for the mental health court referral, is that also on there?
Well, y'all would need your social worker to evaluate him. And do you want me to reset him to the 11 o'clock MH calendar or to the 9 a.m. SAP calendar?
MH, so they can go speak with him, I think would be best.
All right, November 9th at 11 a.m.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Courtroom 2, please unmute. Mr. Bates, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say about your case, your statements can be used against you and used in prosecuting your case against you. So
I am getting a simple bond to get out.
Half of it.
Huh?
Mr. Bates, we can speak about this later, but they're going to come see you to see if you qualify for a diversion court program. You did get a signature bond for half of it.
I'm not getting out today.
No.
All right.
Next case, please.
We're gonna go to position number 2, Mr. Quentin Beavers. Position number 2.
This is Quentin Marcellus Beavers, accused of giving false information to an officer on January 23rd, 2023. Accusation is now 23 CR 6747Y. Mr. Beavers, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Abden. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
22 total. I got a probation violation this year. On probation, sale of marijuana. Possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance. 22 SC 184550. On probation, possession of a firearm by convicted felon. 21 SC 1799938. 2020 obstruction. 2019 probation FTA. I stop there.
When did he have his probation violation hearing? Or
I think that's with the current booking, isn't it?
okay.
Let me look it up.
All right. While we're looking, Ms. Dunlap.
So law enforcement responded to a call of a person shot at 4100 Wendell Drive in Atlanta. While investigating the scene, they asked the victim for his name and date of birth. He gave the name Michael Beavers with the birth date 7/5/1991. They ran the name through GCIC and to verify his information. Officer saw he'd been given the wrong information. The driver's license picture on file for the given name and DOB doesn't match the victim. The officer, sergeant who was familiar with the defendant, advised the officer of his correct name as she dealt with him before. They looked up the defendant and found his actual birthday, 7/8/1990 through GIC, verified his picture, and he was taken into custody. He had outstanding warrants from Fulton County Sheriff's Office. The state is looking for a signature bond through the jail, no drugs, alcohols, or weapons, and that's to the giving false information to law officers charged, sorry.
All right, Ms. Abden, any objection to $1,000 signature bond through the jail?
No objection, Your Honor. Just for the record, I just want to note that my client does deny the allegations. He was the person shot. He was shot in the foot. He didn't mean to give the false information. He was just hurt.
Okay. He does have 2 probation holds. It's 23 PV, 1416 and 1417. All right, thank you. Next case, please.
Hold on 1 second. We got it.
$27 cases, huh?
Yeah, we've been getting slammed the last couple of days.
I thought I'd say that just to let Mr. Howard vent. So.
All right, I vented this morning.
Thank you. We can pause the live stream until courtroom 2 comes in.